The insurance world is changing. It has changed dramatically over the past 5 years. What changes and updates do you need to do to your homeowner's insurance policy right now? I've got 3 tips, that and more, coming up. Well, there's good news and bad news, right? And anytime you're given the choice, always pick the bad news first. So the bad news first is it has just been an awfully challenging time period for consumers with their homeowners insurance over the past 5 years. Coming out of COVID, and and I know prices went up everywhere, but it just feels punitive and challenging, extra challenging with your insurance and homeowners insurance in particular. Prices have just skyrocketed. There's been long-standing customers and insurance companies who've just dropped clients who've said, we're no longer, I know you've been a client of ours for 30 years. Yeah, we're not going to renew you. You're being removed, sort of thing. Like sending people scrambling. How do I get coverage? Companies saying we're no longer going to offer coverage in this area, period. So if you're moving to this area, I know you've been a client of ours, but we're not going to offer you insurance. And insurance companies going bankrupt. It's just been awful. They call it a hard market when companies are increasing rates and being more selective of their customers. Guys, this is awful. Like it's titanium. This is the hardest that it can be, has been the past 5 years. Now, okay, is there any good news? Well, the good news is we're starting to see things stabilize. Okay, we have an independent insurance agency here, serve 3,000 customers or so, and serving to ensure that you get the right coverage with the right service and claims experience, advocacy, all that sort of stuff at the right price. And I would argue in that order because you want to ensure that you get the right coverage. So we work with a lot of the top rated insurance companies and we're hearing from them and we're starting to see things might be stabilizing a little bit. And, I'll sort of believe it when I see it, but there are positive reports that maybe we are on the other side of this really awful trend. I hope so. But what this awful trend and this shift in paradigm has meant for homeowners insurance over the past 5 years is if you haven't updated your coverage, you need to do so now. And I'm recording this right now in the springtime. It's supposed to be spring. It's been freezing here in the Midwest, by the way. But this is an opportune time. If we do start seeing some stabilization in the homeowners insurance world, but also if you haven't updated your coverage or reviewed your coverage with your independent insurance agent who's collaborating with your CFP, it's likely you got some changes to make. It's likely things are out of date. And I'm not talking about shopping, okay? Shopping's purely price, and we're just working with one of our all-star insurance agents right now where an individual was, just shopping at price. And so we said, well, send it over. We'll take a look. I mean, the price was much better. They dropped liability. I didn't even know that was a thing. It was to get the price low. And the customer had no idea, but the insurance company, the online insurance company, was not offering liability. It was only covering the property. So gotta make sure that the coverage is appropriate. 3 things that you need to do right now with your homeowner's insurance. First, update your replacement cost within your homeowner's insurance. There are 3 values to your home. And I'm saying that word intentionally vague. Values, because when I think what's the value of your home, what's the value of my home, I think market value. That's what you could sell it for. That's what someone would pay for it. That's market value. Okay, that's one. Second is appraised value, and here in the Midwest, you're likely getting your tax bills right now. Your assessed value is, well, what are you paying property taxes on? And many places, many areas, they try to have that match market value, but oftentimes there's caps and there's so on. So that can be something different, right? But third, the value that I'm talking about right now is replacement value. And that is, if you had a loss to your home, what would it cost to replace it? What would it cost to rebuild that home? When you think about market value and even assessed value, part of that is the land. Lots are even more valuable, more expensive right now. Well, if you see it just a traumatic, total loss, fire or tornado, the land's still there, right? So there's no change with that. And so you can see that there's a difference with these values, these 3 different values. Replacement value is going to be different than market value or assessed value. And partly right now, the reason why you've got to take a look at this is really twofold. One, values have increased significantly over the past, 4 or 5 years, right? So you got to make sure that that's accurate. But 2, the cost to rebuild or cost to replace, whether it's your full house or repair damage has skyrocketed, right? And it's very possible that the cost to rebuild your home is more expensive than the cost, or is a higher amount than the actual market value you could sell it for. Isn't that crazy? What a crazy time that we are in. So if you haven't updated your replacement cost, I mean, this is the anchor coverage of your homeowner's insurance. If you look at your declaration page, this is typically what's called like coverage A. I think they list it by letter. Coverage A, your dwelling. That's your replacement cost. You want to go through that analysis with your independent insurance agent, because what I don't want is for you to have a claim and need your home replaced or an area replaced and not have the right coverage. And yes, if you are severely underinsured because you haven't updated this recently, it might mean your homeowner's insurance premium goes up a couple $100 or $100. I'd rather have that be the case than have you save a couple $100 a year because your insurance was lower, but not have the protection that you need for many people's biggest asset. Second, do you have water backup coverage, and do you need it? And this is if you have a basement, or if you don't have a basement, and those areas that's maybe different. But here's the situation. Last night we got a little bit of rain here in Michiana, and there was not a lot. It wasn't. I mean, we had canceled baseball practice, or we ended early, but I mean, it wasn't a downpour. And we're in the kitchen, and I'm getting dinner ready, and I look out the back window and never get over there. And water was just waterfalling over the gutter. It was not going down the downspout. It was water falling over the gutter. And I turned and said, "Hey, Cindy, please remind me, I've got to clean out the gutter. Like we've got something jammed in there or something like that." Say that waterfall went unattended, and we got a lot of rain, and it started seeping down into the house, down that foundation. Sump pump stops working. I've got a huge claim. We've got half of our basement is finished. That is an enormous problem. And you'd think logically, my insurance covers that. Maybe not. Maybe not. You are going to want to review that for your specific risk, for your situation, and determine whether you should have water backup. Again, I'm recording this in the spring, and now is a great time to update that so that as you hear those, sirens, hey, there's a storm coming or whatever, you have the confidence, the peace of mind, the clarity and confidence that no, if something happens, I don't want anything to happen. I want to avoid, I want to put precautions in place. But if something were to happen, then we've got the coverage that we need. And then tip number 3, deductibles and deductions. Deductibles and deductions. So DD, not Dungeons and Dragons. This is deductibles and deductions. Right now, with the insurance market coming out of, this awful time period, it's unlikely you're going to file a small claim. And small is relative. I get it. And I get the feeling of, well, I'm paying for insurance. Mowing the lawn, a rock, breaks a window. Why do I have the insurance? If you file claims for those smaller events, for those smaller losses, it's going to trigger and signal to your insurance company, hey, I'm a high risk. I'm a high risk. And you might say, I'm paying for the insurance. I get it. But it does signal you're high risk. And therefore, you're after going through what we've gone through these past 5 years, it's less likely that you're going to file a small claim. Therefore, should you increase your deductible? Many companies have automatically increased deductibles, but do you still have a $1,000 deductible where, yes, if you had an enormous loss, a big loss, yeah, your out of pocket would only be $1,000. That would feel great. However, that low deductible actually means you're paying more for that insurance each and every year. Have you optimized that working with your insurance agent? All right, what does $2,500 look like? What does a $5,000 deductible look like? What does a percentage-based deductible look like? And it looked at your entire financial picture, your cash flow, present financial position, your cash reserves to say, well, I don't want to have a loss. And when I have one, I don't want to have a large out of pocket, but I do want to pay less in premium. How can I strike the right balance for me? And in doing that deductible analysis and optimization, also have your independent insurance agent do a deduction review. So many insurance companies right now are just putting their heads down and say, okay, process this claim, process this, process that, instead of actually doing a thorough review. That's what we call them, and not a fancy catchphrase, but yeah, we want to do an insurance review. What's changed in your financial life? And in that, we're going to review your coverage, but we're also going to do a double check. Yep, the commercial tagline there, a double check of all the deductions that you could be eligible for that maybe you're not getting. And that will allow you to optimize your insurance, making sure you've got the right coverage, you've got the right deductible, so you've got and looking around at different carriers to ensure you've got the right price, and making sure that you've got the right deductibles, again, helping you get the right price. If you haven't done that review with your insurance agent in recent history, I would encourage you to do that. Working with your independent insurance agent who's collaborating with your CFP, who knows your entire financial picture and your goals, looking at replacement cost estimator. Are we insuring the house for the right amount? Do we have water backup coverage? Do we need that? Are there other sorts of coverages that maybe we need for our unique financial situation that you don't have right now? And then reviewing your deductible and deductions. That is what you need right now. Work with your certified financial planner on that. If you don't have a CFP on your team, contact one on my team. Find us online, Korhorn.com. That's Korhorn with K, wisemoneyshow.com. You can find us there as well, or give us a call, 574-247-5898. All right, there you have it. Go out and take your next wise step in your financial life.